What's up, good people? It is late right now, but I'm doing some vibe coding. I'm out here vibing, and I was super excited that Canva released their Canva code, and I have a use case for it, at least for me. I'm having an offsite that I'm planning with my team, and we wanted to have a cool way for everyone to see the city. And what better way to see the city and get to know one another while doing so than a scavenger hunt, right? People bond when they have challenges and riddles and things that they have to solve. So this has gone through multiple iterations. The first iteration was your typical. We were going to give them just a sheet of paper, a printed out sheet of paper with riddles. The riddle was going to lead them to a location. And then at that location, somehow we had to give them a challenge, something interactive. For instance, take a photo, do something silly, a selfie, etc., right? And then once they do the challenge, they move on to the next riddle. Well, we thought about how could we take that to the next step? What was the next step after that? And so I was like, what if we put QR codes at all the locations? And so they would scan the QR code and it would take them to a website or a web page, and it would have the challenge for that specific location. And that worked. That was a good idea. But then someone brought up the risk of, what if someone tampers with or they remove the QR code in the middle of the game? And I was like, okay, that's fair. So then we were just gonna put it as a part of the sheet and then have the honor system that the people were, we're gonna be honorable and not reveal the challenge until we have found the location. But I was sitting here thinking, again, it's late at night, and I was like, there has to be a better way, a more interactive way. And then I was on Canva and I was messing around with the sheet that I was going to print out, and I was like, let me try this Canva Code thing. And so that brings us here. Now, I wish I would have started at the beginning or had this great thought at the beginning, but I didn't. So whatever. Here we are. So I started out very simple in Canva Code. I said, give me an interactive riddle solver. The app will prompt the user with the riddle. They must answer the riddle with the correct answer, and once answered correctly, the app reveals an additional challenge. That was my prompt. And the first version of, actually I can give you, maybe version 2. Okay, version 2 pops up. All right, version 1 doesn't pop up. Well, so version 1 was just a simple app with riddles that were already defined by the application. Like, it came up with riddles for me and answers. And it looked very similar to what was just on the screen here. All right, this is version 2. So then I iterated through and I said, you know what? I wanted to have my riddles. I have 9 riddles that I want you to substitute for. And so it entered in my 9 riddles as the riddles. And look at this. I mean, this is like, this all moves. You can throw it in there. It created the hints. I did not give it these hints. And I was like, okay, this works. So that was my version 2. But now this is how logistically I want things to work for the people who are using this. So they see the riddle that we see here. Once they figure it out, they type in the answer, they walk to the location. The next step after this is that once they give the correct answer, it should reveal the challenge that they need to do at the location for each of these. And so my next part of this in version 2 was, here are some challenges that I have. I want you to add them and associate them with the locations or the answers. And it did a great job. So then we get to version 3. Let me show you how this works. So in a garden of towers where music will soar, let me get to my cheat sheet. In a garden of towers. Oh, that's the longest one. All right. It is the J. Pritzker Pavilion. All right. So revealed, correct. And then it gives me my challenge. Have one team member hum or sing a short tune from a popular musical or concert song. Bonus points if others can guess it. See, that's fun. And then it hovers over and lets you know, okay, mark this done. Has the progress to let you know which ones you do, and then you can move on to the next riddle. Like, it did this by itself. This is like just prompts. This is where we're at. So then I thought through and I was like, okay, we don't want everyone to go through the same sequence of riddles, because if you've ever done a scavenger hunt or ran a scavenger hunt, what's going to happen is if everyone has the same sequence, eventually they just become a group because they'll just follow one another. And that takes the fun and excitement and the challenging competition aspect out of it. So that's not what we want. So we want it to be randomized. So we want it to randomize every time someone uses the app. We want this to be random. And so that was my next prompt. Make sure each time someone starts the app from the beginning, randomize the order of the riddles. And then, because our group wants to come together at the end and have some big culmination, we needed a centralized location, the bean, of course. And it's going to be a great place to take a group photo. And so I said, make sure that the bean clue is always the last clue, no matter the order. And then we get to version 4. And version 4 works the exact same way. And then lastly, before we get to the last version, is I just wanted to change the name from Chicago Landmarks Quest, this generic name, to EPD Ops Chai and Seek. Get it? Chai and Seek, hide and seek, shy and seek. Okay, whatever. So, and then now we're at this version of it. So this is really, I'm digging how easy it is to drop in the prompt and iterate on this and slowly get to where you want. And then you can go ahead and take this and you can use it in a design. So here's my design. And again, like my goal was, I'm going to use the website template on Canva and I'm going to publish the website so that I can give everyone the link, or I can create a QR code, have them scan it so that it brings them to here. And then with this, you can see they're not going to be on their desktop. They're going to be on their mobile, obviously, because they're going to be walking around. So that you can play with it. You can answer the questions and see how it works from a mobile app. And let's see. So 2 tower stand facing, I think this is the fountain. Yes, it is. Okay. So we go crown fountain, even with the hint. I mean, the hint is beautiful. Okay. Correct. Team challenge, mark, next riddle. And it tracks your progress, which I think is just beautiful. Yeah, and this is great. This is what I want. So then now we go ahead and publish this. Now here's where I needed some. It took me a moment to figure this out. So once this is in a design, you can no longer iterate on this application anymore. So I had to figure out, how do I get back to the original app if there's things I still want to update about it. There are 2 different versions of your chat. So the new Canva has Canva AI, and then it has, a list of your chats. And then there's Canva Code. But again, it's not like readily available up here. So now I have to remember how I got to it. I think you just have to go to the URL. I think Canva, we gotta work on that. But let's see. I'll go back to design. So yeah, I think you have to go to this canva.com AI/AI/code, and then I think it takes you here, because in here, there we go. Because in here, this is where you can see a different chat thread. And this is for the applications that you create. All right, this is me testing it out with the meditation timer design, and then this is the interactive riddle challenge. And so yeah, I think you need to save this in order to get back to this, and then I can now iterate on this design, and then I think when I use it in design, it'll embed itself in a new design that I'll have to play with. But that's it. That's the video. I wanted to show you Canva Code and how easy it was to create this. Like, this is going to be really fun for my team, and I saved some trees. That's it. Little vibe coding at midnight. Yes, just after midnight. All right. See y'all.